This is a U.S.-China Media Brief produced by the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. The U.S.-China Media Brief features interviews with experts and other prominent individuals involved in studying and documenting the dynamic and ever-evolving relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. I'm Russell Leong, Director of the U.S.-China Media Brief of the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. Our purpose is to provide a more balanced view of U.S.-China relations for the U.S. media through our media brief and website. Do you think the American media and American observers of China are pretty biased, or do they need to improve their analysis? I guess that was my point.
Actually, I don't think that you can expect the American media to talk otherwise. Once you have come to this view, then I think we will wouldn't be too annoyed by some of the reports, the things. I think it's because of the value and the understanding of China. For example, one thing, all their interpretation of China comes from one thing, that is, China is a one-party ruled sort of country. And this leads to a lot of other things. And they think, so they are thinking along that line. This is a fact they would not ignore, and it will be dominant in their thinking and analysis of things. So, or you use that word, a totalitarian country, that is, would certainly have no human rights, would certainly suppress this and suppress that. So this is the kind of logic coming from this thing. And I don't think you can change that very easily about these people. So when they look out, some of my students have done the kind of study about New York Times, about Washington Post, about all these chief newspapers in the United States, and the conclusion is mostly it's not a distortion of facts. The facts are there, the facts are true, yet how to look at these facts, how to analyze these facts is very different. That's very different. So expecting them, the American media, to talk in the way that we expect them to talk, or talk like the Chinese newspapers, that would be impossible. So I think once you get that clear, you wouldn't have, too much illusions about the thing, or too much disappointment about the reports. So I think that is the case. The other thing, certainly, is transparency. If you are more transparent, you let these journalists see all the things, so long as they don't distort the facts. The facts are there. And if they report the facts, even though there might be a sting at the end of the report, the facts are there. And that will help in doing the thing. So one thing is, don't expect them to change too much. The other is to make us more transparent. I think to talk to them very frankly about the things. Now, these are the achievements, but these are the problems. We do have problems. We don't want to close our eyes to that. So if that is the case, I think it will help. Especially the journalists would not feel terribly frustrated for not being able to get the news, and I think once they have a more calmer sort of emotion, then the report will be better.
Well, it seems that at least in the West, the perception of Chinese media reporting on, say, the Sichuan earthquake or even the recent Uyghur uprisings.
Yeah.
It's seemed to be more a bit more transparent, and you know, they actually had reporters, both foreign and domestic Chinese reporters, reporting on the scene. So it seemed that in some instances, you know, there is a much more transparency than, say, maybe 10 years ago.
China is learning.
Yeah.
That's all. But learning at a cost. That's the pity.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question I actually asked Professor Li Shiguang about with the rise of the new kind of technology, whether it's QQ, internet, just regular cell phones, the spread of information, whether it's accurate or not, it's just rampant. You can have a rumor or you can have fact, but immediately it's on cell phones, you know, millions of cell phones and computers throughout China or the US and the world. So how do you actually maintain a certain amount of objectivity and sticking to the facts in light of the way information and news travels nowadays? It seems that it's almost impossible to control.
I think the Chinese officials at various government levels would need to learn. That is, to be more open and transparent. And when an incident occurs or an accident occurs, well, immediately you provide the media with the proper sort of information and analysis. That's very important. That would actually stop the spread of rumors. If you keep quiet, say something happened, you keep quiet for 2 days, the rumors would come because you don't provide a proper explanation. Certainly other explanations would arise. So because quite a number of our officials were quite accustomed to this kind of keeping the lid on the thing in the past. So they need to get rid of that as quickly as possible, and it will make things much better. So I think this is one thing. The good thing is about the new technology. That would make the sort of monopolizing the information, I mean, quite impossible. I think it's a sort of a coin of two sides. For China, personally, I think for China today, it's still a good thing to develop this so that the news would not could not be covered or hidden in a way that it happened in the past. But when we come to a certain point of transparency, you need to guide, because this sort of mob sort of web mess can also cause trouble and disaster, because for example, in diplomacy, in foreign relations, emotion should not come in, because once you are too emotional, you don't have a rational choice. So, but on the web, it's different. It's purely emotional, and the bloggers do not need to take any responsibility of anything. So this sort of thing, currently, it might still be a positive thing, but when it comes to a certain point, I think we need to be aware of that.
The preceding copyrighted program is a property of the University of California, Los Angeles. All rights reserved. It may be used freely for educational and not-for-profit activities. For other uses or to make an inquiry, please contact the Asian American Studies Center at UCLA.